The story of Solomon 9. 2 women and a baby. 1 Kings 3:16-28. And notes on the scripture. After this, 2 prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. The one woman said, "Oh, my lord, this woman and I live in the same house. And I gave birth to a child while she was in the house. Then on the 3rd day after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth. And we were alone. There was no one else with us in the house. Only we 2 were in the house. And this woman's son died in the night, because she lay on him. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while your servant slept, and laid him at her breast, and laid her dead son at my breast. When I rose in the morning to nurse my child, behold, he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning, behold, he was not the child that I had borne." But the other woman said, "No, the living child is mine, and the dead child is yours." The first said, "No, the dead child is yours, and the living child is mine." Thus they spoke before the king. Then the king declared, "The one says, 'This is my son that is alive, and your son is dead,' and the other says, 'No, but your son is dead, and my son is the living one.'" And he ordered, "Bring me a sword." So a sword was brought before the king. And the king said, "Divide the living child in 2, and give half to the one and half to the other." Then the woman whose son was alive said to the king, because her heart yearned for her son, "Oh, my lord, give her the living child, and by no means put him to death." But the other said, "He shall be neither mine nor yours, divide him." Then the king answered and said, "Give the living child to the first woman, and by no means put him to death, she is his mother." And all Israel heard of the judgment that the king had rendered, and they stood in awe of the king, because they perceived that the wisdom of God was in him to do justice. Notes on the scripture. This story is one of the greatest and most familiar in the Bible. Anyone who went to Sunday school as a child will remember it. Its anecdotal nature and reliance upon universal human characteristics make it easily understandable, and the clever twist makes it entertaining. The proceedings are undignified. This is more Judge Judy than Queen's Bench, and the author makes note that the litigants' familiarity and coarseness are not the norm. In a slightly shocked side comment, this is how they spoke in the presence of the king. But the purpose of the story is twofold, and the ribald proceedings help with one of them: to demonstrate Solomon's wisdom to the common folk and spread his reputation throughout Israel, giving his subjects confidence in him and enhancing his support. The other purpose, of course, is to give a concrete example of the effectiveness of the preceding verses where Solomon asked God for wisdom. So God grants Solomon wisdom in verses 1 to 15, and in verses 16 to 28 we immediately see the gift exemplified. Moreover, we see the breadth of wisdom with which he is blessed. He will have the deeper, more educated type of wisdom, which becomes abundantly clear from his writings in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. But he also has street smarts, a high degree of what we call common sense.